Hello everyone, welcome back to the Crypto Geo channel. We've got a pretty interesting week ahead, so I'm just going to jump right into this TA. So first thing we're going to look at is the dollar index. It looks like we tested once again this green box, and there's only so many times you could test something before it ends up breaking. I mean, the more times you touch support or resistance, the more likely it is to break. But we did get rejected pretty heavily this time, about the same level as we did last week. So let's see if we continue on this trend downward, or maybe we go break out going through it and everything goes to hell. Um, we'll look at some of the equities real quick. S&P dipped below this downward sloping resistance I've drawn. Um, it's only by a little bit. I think this is about 1%, so it's really nothing conclusive yet. It might be just a little deviation for us to continue back up. I mean, you got the 382 Fibonacci level acting as some support right here, also a little bit of horizontal support going across. So this isn't necessarily looking too bad. And especially if we look at the NASDAQ, we're still above this downward sloping resistance, and we've got the 0.5 Fibonacci level. So it's not a bad area to start looking for some upward targets around the $13,000 level maybe. Perhaps we end up breaking through it afterwards and reach the 13,750 or so. So yeah, tech not looking too bad. The Dow Jones took a specifically heavy beating. And we're right back exactly at this downward sloping resistance. So we really want to hold this and continue to target upward. Even though we did break through the point 236, but Dow Jones has been holding like relatively well over this entire downturn. So I'm not too worried about that. All right, on to more interesting stuff in crypto. Bitcoin dominance. We see we're still stuck in the middle of this range. We might be at what we could consider a support at around the 43% level. We might end up dipping back down, dropping down to about 42.2%, maybe a little bit lower, 41.3%, and that would be pretty good for altcoins. I do think this mainly has to do with ETH. ETH has been performing like really well recently, so this might be more geared towards ETH's performance as opposed to some other of altcoins, because especially when USDC was tanking the other day, Bitcoin and ETH were the only things that were up for the most part. Everything else really took a beating. If we take a look at the ETH BTC chart, yeah, ETH again at this upward sloping like support kind of started to take off a little bit. Nothing too conclusive. We're still stuck within this range. OBV not doing anything too crazy. RSI, stochastic RSI, is starting to turn back up. If you look at the Bollinger Bands, we're above the EMA, and it's still pretty contracted. So we really want to see this start to break up before moving some of our Bitcoin holdings into ETH. But looking good overall for ETH. So first, let's look at Bitcoin. Weekly, nothing too much has changed. We're still stuck in the middle of this range. We did come back and touch this green box here. It's a pretty sick wick though, so typically when you see big wicks, you end up going back to like touch them, at least like we did over here a couple times. Here we did a couple times. Also same thing for the upper ones. Nasty wick, came back and touched it. Granted, we might rally before we come back and touch these, but it's something to keep in mind when trading these conditions. Let's look a little more closely. Look at the daily reset. Yeah, so we did tap into this box here and we're heading back upwards, but we're starting to enter this area which could be some pretty strong resistance around this let's say $21,500 level up to the $22,000 level. This is going to be tough to get through. I mean, we can do it, we have done it, but we're going to need some support from equities, and especially with the USDC, what's it called, Silicon Valley Bank going down. We don't know what kind of contagion that may cause. Other bank runs, other people like freaking out and just withdrawing their money for no reason. A lot of tech startups are going to go under now. They don't have access to their money. They're only going to get the $250,000 FDIC insurance. It may not be the best week for tech stocks, and consequently for Bitcoin and the rest of crypto. So I'm not entering along at this position. I'm actually kind of looking to short maybe. Not quite yet. I do want it to rally a bit more in order to enter a short. So I'll look at the 4 hours for more granularity and where I'm really looking at. All right, let's see. Okay, so we did break above this resistance here, and we're starting to rally up. We actually have like some pretty decent volume, especially for a weekend. And considering we've got almost another 2 hours left, this volume bar can go up pretty high. So this is very interesting. You do want to see big, like high volume, paired with like breakouts to really confirm that it happened. Um, so yeah, something I'm looking at. Right now, I do want this to come up a bit. I do think we can reach around this $21,500 level, maybe a little bit higher. Here's where I might start looking for a short, and then target back this level. And depending if everything's going to hell, maybe even all the way back down to the $19,000 level. If that's not going to happen, if we are actually going to keep going up and rallying upwards, I still do see this one to come back up. But instead, once we reach this $20,600 level, here's where I'll start to enter a long position and try to target the upper range of this like downward sloping or upward sloping like support. So one thing to keep in mind, I was looking at this a second ago, is we can in a sense draw this resistance over here on the 4 hour. Granted, it doesn't have too much, it doesn't bear too much weight considering it's on like a smaller time frame, but it's still like long enough to be like relevant in terms of seeing price action. So if we break out of this in about the same amount of time that we'll reach this $20,700 level, it could be confluence for support in order to head back upward. Definitely, if we don't break through this, it's going to be a good area to like start shorting. All right, let me get rid of some of these. But yeah, I'll be keeping an eye out in the next couple hours towards the end of the day. I don't really like trading on weekends, but it might be good to like front run some of the stuff happening next week. If we take a look at ETH, let's zoom out first. Weekly. Yeah. So the weekly, we dumped pretty hard on the weekly, and it just got eaten back up like pretty hard. It's looking like good for ETH. We're even above the candle close of last month's lows. We still didn't break through this downward sloping resistance, so I do want to see it come and break out of this before we really start to target some like higher levels. If you go back, look, I guess I'll mention, yeah, we're still stuck within this OBV, which is why I kind of wanted to dip down just a little bit more and maybe try to get an entry around the $1,400 level. If I'm gonna front run breaking out of this resistance. Also, the stochastic RSI is kind of starting to come back down. We might want to let this cool off a little bit before entering any longs. 1 day chart. Yeah, so on the 1 day, we did break through this previous support, which could have turned into resistance, but it didn't. And I'm really looking at a similar scenario for ETH as I did for Bitcoin. I do want this to come up. Actually, this like pumped from like the time I was preparing this video and the time shooting it in the past like half hour or so. I do want this to come up a little bit more. I didn't do it right. I had to hold. Yeah, I do want this to come up a little bit more. Ideally, come back and test this $15, $10 level before targeting some of these, like the upper range highs. But the thing is, if we do start breaking out of this and we break out of what we saw on the weekly level, we could target some higher levels. So I'd start looking at about the $2,000 level for something around there first. And then if we continue to go up, maybe $2,000, $350, somewhere around here. This is all kind of premature. We didn't break out of anything yet. These are just all like plans to see what we could want. I'm not too fond right now of trying to short ETH just because it's been like so strong. But if you were to want to short ETH, don't. I mean, no financial advice. I'm not shorting ETH right here. This is a fat candle. It's not. Don't short on like such strong candles like this. You're trying to catch a falling knife. Maybe what I would want to see if I want to short like around this area, like in the short term, is I want to see it like jiggle around over here and not do anything conclusive, and then if nothing is happening for a while, then try to target maybe these lows. That's not the best risk to reward, but then otherwise try to reach back to the lows from the other day. If we continue to drop down lower, maybe 1340, or maybe even 1250. I don't see this as common as compared to shorting Bitcoin at this moment. So I personally won't be like trading this. If anything, I'm going to be looking more for longs on ETH. Yeah. Okay. One last thing. I guess I'll look at USDC. So this on the 4-hour time frame. Let me get rid of that. Let's go back to the 1 hour just to see exactly what happened. Yeah. So we dumped and we were down to like 86 cents. Came back up, juggling around here. Then we broke out and we came back and kind of tested this 97.5 cent level. It's kind of funny just doing technical analysis on a stable coin. Yeah, because a lot of people are leverage trading this. This would have made sense to short or to close out your long positions around this area, because again, like the fair market value of USDC should be around 91 cents. So like technically right now at 95, it's overvalued. I'm not gonna short this just because when is the market or anything ever really that reasonable, especially when you're in crypto and we're all just a bunch of degenerates like trading stable coins. Yeah, so I'm not really looking. I don't really plan to trade this. If anything, I would go long, but not right now. I definitely want to wait to see what the news are for what's it called, Silicon Valley Bank. I want to see what happens, because any more FUD, whatever, can just quickly dump this back down to the previous lows. But now for this, you kind of need an over exaggeration, because it should be around 91 cents, which is why maybe if you want to short this, maybe target 91 cents. Once you get down, if you're below, maybe again target 91 cents. Just figure out the fair market value of USDC and try to wobble between there. But when you use high leverage on these, it's risky. You got to know what you're doing to do these. But all right, that's all I got for today. Subscribe if you want to hear more market updates and some news, and I'll see you next time.